The third step in this, to help both narrow it down, and once you have it narrowed down to 5 people, to pick the best ones in your total decision, is to research each individual. So the first thing you want to do is to find out if they're one really attorney, and you can check that out by checking the local bar association's website to see if their name pops up on there. For example, I'm a California bar attorney, and if you go to a website called calbar, calbar.org, you'll be able to look up different attorneys, and first of all, you'll see if I am an attorney or the lawyer is an attorney, and second of all, you'll see if there's any disciplinary actions against them. Have they done things that are wrong? Now, again, sometimes people have disciplinary actions that aren't that bad, or they're mistakes, but they have to go through it. You have to really read the disciplinary decision to see if it's something that's terrible or not. It's not a good thing, obviously, having that, but it's very important to check it out. Secondly, you want to look to see if that person practices immigration law, if not exclusively, primarily. Immigration law is so complicated that if you are doing myriad of things, multiple things like bankruptcy law, family law, and immigration law, I can tell you that person is not going to be a good immigration lawyer. It's just too complicated, not only to just know immigration law, but within the several branches of immigration law, each one is more and more complicated. So to really know what you're doing, you really have to focus on that, and at most touch one other branch of law. So maybe you do immigration law and criminal law because there's overlaps. Maybe you do immigration law and family law because there are overlaps. Or immigration law and certain business types of law that overlap. But to really just do more than that, it's something that I wouldn't trust an immigration lawyer, because it's just too complicated to know it all, unless they've practiced many years and expertise is so vast that they could handle more than that. But that's not many lawyers that could do that. Another thing to look at is how long they've been practicing. Now, if someone's a new practitioner, it's not necessarily bad. They can still be good. But ideally, you want to have someone who's been doing it for a couple of years to make sure they've had experience, they've done things before, they know how to even treat a client and have good customer service. But again, just someone being new is not necessarily a bad thing, but preferably you want someone that has experience, in particular the type of case that you're dealing with. So that's something you can mention when you're scheduling a consultation, when you're talking with them, and see if they have that particular kind of experience that you need. The next thing is to really look at their bio page. You usually go to their website, they'll have a biography, and there's a lot of information you can get from that. Not everyone's going to have this, but I think that's important. One thing is to see if they're a speaker, if they talk about immigration law frequently, especially on panels at professional organizations. The reason why I say that is to be on a panel to talk to other immigration attorneys about your expertise, about your knowledge of immigration law. You really have to prepare a lot, because you're going to be talking, or for example, when I go to panels and I talk to other immigration lawyers about my expertise areas, I have to make sure that I'm not making mistakes there, because it's going to look really bad, because those people will know if I'm making a mistake. So I have to study it hard, and just the process of preparing to speak in front of other people about the law requires me to study it even more than I normally would just for a case. That really helps with expertise, and it's a positive thing to look at when you're judging someone to be your immigration lawyer. Another thing is, are they members of professional organizations that are related to immigration law? The primary one is the American Immigration Lawyers Association, AILA, or commonly known as AILA. And the point of AILA is to have a group, a trade association where you share a lot of information. Now, membership in it just costs money. There's no higher way of getting it or specialized way. So just by being a member, it's not that much, but having membership is good, because AILA provides a lot of daily information. And whether your attorney actually reads that daily information or not, we don't know. But it also provides platforms and groups for you to talk with other people, conferences to go to. So there's more of a chance that that lawyer takes the time to get involved in their practice, into the field of immigration law, talk with others about it. So it's a positive indicator that they're active and they're caring about the law enough to continually study it and to get to know it. The next thing is, have they won awards in this area? So many lawyers will talk about winning awards, and so you have to be careful about this. Originally, there were a few companies that would announce awards for best immigration lawyers, and they don't necessarily do the best job at choosing people, but they weren't too bad. However, soon after, many companies got involved and realized it's a great way to make a lot of money. So a lot of these awards that exist, people get just essentially for paying. These companies send out the award notices to everybody, and whoever pays the money gets a plaque. Now, there are some awards like Super Lawyers and by Reuters and U.S. News's Best Lawyers, which I've seen really highlight really great colleagues in the field. In full disclosure, I'm on those lists as well. But I found the colleagues that are placed on that are really top-notch people, and I could vouch for them being great attorneys as well. So that list is great, but a lot of other ones miss the mark, and I wouldn't rely on those. The next thing to look at is, do they have products they can see of their work? Do they have writings? Do they have blogs? Do they do videos? And video is great because you can watch them and see their personality and how comfortable they are with the knowledge that they're talking about and just how they carry themselves. You might have two great immigration attorneys that can work with you, but if you talk to two of them, one of them might feel more comfortable, more closer that you can deal with than the other person. And video helps you make that decision beforehand to see, is this the kind of person that I'm comfortable with talking about? Because immigration does require you to reveal everything about yourself when it comes to finances. If you're getting married, very personal, intimate details of your lives, your past history, relationship with family members, education, and criminal history. There's a lot of personal information the U.S. government may ask of you, so your immigration lawyer has to ask as well. So you got to think, does this person look like I'm be comfortable sharing that information with them or not? And that's a big part of it. And as I'll talk about at the end, the last step is and I'll just jump forward and tell you a little bit earlier, is you have to trust your instincts on this. And that's why, human beings, when we see people, it really helps us judge better. Sometimes it leads to prejudice, but nonetheless, if you talk and communicate, your gut, your instincts will help you a lot in making that decision. Now, another thing to look at is, do they teach immigration law? And that kind of goes to panels, or if they're teaching at universities, at graduate schools, at law schools about immigration law, and that really helps, because when you go and teach something, it forces you to learn it better, just like when I talked about being on panels and speaking at trade associations. Now, one question that I get asked sometimes by people in emails is, can you provide references? Can you give us the phone numbers of previous clients to call so we could check on you? Now, that's an awkward question to ask, because the relationship I have with all my clients is confidential. And so I can't just tell people who they are. Now, even if I had a client that was so nice and would let me do that, I just can't keep giving people's phone numbers out to them so they could call them out of the blue and ask very personal questions. So I don't think that's a good question to ask about people you can call, but that's what the whole point of reviews are. So when you go online on Google, on Avvo, on Yelp, and all these different websites, people leave reviews and you can make that judgment right there. Now, sometimes these reviews are fake, so you really got to read them and get a better feeling to see if these are fake reviews by friends or if it comes off as real people. And finally, do they speak your language? Now, one thing I find really important, and not all colleagues agree, is that you be able to speak with your attorney directly. Sometimes a translator may be needed. However, I'm very cautious, because the things I have to ask and the detailed information I have to get from clients is so important, and it's so important to be able to communicate directly with them, to get that information properly, hear it, and say it to them properly, that having a translator sometimes gets things lost. And there's an intimacy that comes when you're talking directly as opposed to having another person in the room with you. Imagine it's something very private, something you don't want to really talk about in public, you might be embarrassed about. Not only do you have to tell this translator and then me, it might cause a person not to fully disclose and reveal all the issues involved. But when you're one-on-one talking, it's much more helpful. Now, sometimes you can't find a lawyer that speaks your language and you need a translator, but look to see if you can find an attorney that doesn't require a translator, speaks your language. That's something I would recommend doing from my experience. As in my firm, I only handle cases where I can speak directly with my clients, because rarely do I not do that and include a translator if it's really needed, or if the case is really important that I handle it, because I really want to have that one-on-one intimate relationship with my clients.